Chapter 7. Broken Bonds. At the safe house, tension hung thick in the air as Leon finally shared everything he knew. The flickering lantern light cast his face in sharp relief as he pointed to the map. "The barracks are here," he said, tapping the spot on the map. "This is their central base, heavily fortified. But I know their patterns. The convoys run every morning. Each convoy has about 15 soldiers, and they always send a scout ahead. I've counted 3 checkpoints leading to the barracks. Each one's a choke point, but once you're through..." "How many inside the barracks?" Jackson asked. "About 50 soldiers on any given day. They think they're untouchable there, so they're more relaxed. But make no mistake, they're well-trained. If we're spotted, they'll lock everything down." Leon's voice dropped as he looked around the room, his gaze lingering on Rosa. "But we need to know what's going on inside. The key to stopping all this, it's there." Jackson stood up. "Then I'll scout it. We need eyes on the barracks." "I'm going with you," Rosa said, stepping forward. "You'll need help if the swarm comes through again. Plus, I want to see it for myself." Jackson hesitated, but Rosa's determination was clear. He nodded. "All right, we head out now." Rico watched them gather their gear, the unease in his chest tightening. Rosa and Jackson moving together like that, it felt wrong. He shot Leon a quick glance, but Leon was too deep in thought to notice. As Jackson and Rosa left the safe house, Rico felt a sense of dread he couldn't shake. The streets were eerily quiet as Jackson and Rosa walked through the rubble-strewn city, the faint glow of distant fires casting an orange hue on the broken buildings. Jackson glanced at Rosa, his curiosity gnawing at him. "Your powers," he started, breaking the silence. "Do they ever hurt? Controlling that many bugs must take a toll." Rosa smiled softly, her eyes distant. "It doesn't hurt exactly, but it's not easy either. It's like I can feel them, all of them, their instincts, their fear. I have to guide them without losing control." Jackson looked at her in awe. "That's incredible. Can you show me how it works?" Rosa stopped, raising her hand toward the dark sky. A low hum filled the air as a cloud of insects appeared, seemingly from nowhere, forming a massive swarm above them. The creatures moved as one, swirling and diving through the air with precision. Jackson watched, captivated, as they gnawed through metal signs, chewed on the edges of nearby buildings, and reduced cars to husks of rust and twisted steel. "They follow my will," Rosa said quietly, "but they also sense danger. They're not just weapons. They want to survive." "Why are they leaving?" Jackson asked as the swarm began to disperse, flying farther and farther into the distance. Rosa lowered her hand, a thoughtful look crossing her face. "They're scared. Something's coming. They can feel it." Jackson glanced at her, admiration glowing in his eyes. "You're amazing," he said, unable to hide his awe. "I mean, really, what you can do, it's incredible." Rosa smiled, a faint blush coloring her cheeks, but before she could respond, something caught her eye. She froze. "Jackson," she whispered, her voice tight. He followed her gaze and saw them. Tiny red dots, laser sights, flickering across Rosa's chest and his own. His heart stopped. "Run!" he began, but it was too late. A deafening crack rang out, and in an instant, their bodies were hit with a surge of electricity. The world spun, and then everything went dark. Back at the camp, Jessie was patrolling the perimeter, her rifle slung over her shoulder. The streets were quiet, but something felt off. Her eyes narrowed as she spotted a flash of red in the distance, a glint of something metallic. She ignored it at first, but then she heard a low buzzing hum. The swarm. Panic surged through her as the mutated insects descended. These weren't the usual ones. They were larger, more aggressive, their wings beating with a terrifying speed. Jessie bolted, weaving through the narrow alleys as the swarm followed, relentless. By the time she reached the safe house, her breath was ragged, her heart pounding. She slammed the door shut behind her, collapsing against the wall. Her arm throbbed, and she looked down to see it, a red, pulsing mark on her forearm. Her blood ran cold. "Is that a bite?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Am I infected?" She pulled her sleeve down, hiding the mark. She couldn't let the others see, not yet. She needed to figure out what it meant, and there was no time to panic. Her mind raced to Jackson. Where were he and Rosa? In the government facility, General Cody watched the surveillance feed with cold eyes. The camera footage showed Jackson and Rosa walking down the street, the girl demonstrating her powers. Cody leaned forward, narrowing his eyes as the swarm tore through metal and concrete with frightening efficiency. "The girl," Cody muttered. "Bring her in. But the boy, bring him to me." The soldier saluted and moved to execute his orders. Back at the safe house, Rico stood by the window, his unease growing by the second. Jackson and Rosa had been gone too long. He scanned the streets outside, but there was no sign of them. His fingers tightened around the rifle as dread settled in the pit of his stomach. They should have been back by now, he muttered to himself. Something was wrong.